Part 6, Occult Forces. Lesson 16, Psychic Phenomena. For the sake of convenience in considering the various phases of the phenomena of the occult forces operative in the cosmos, we have divided the same into three general classes as follows. 1. Psychic phenomena, consisting of the manifestation of the phases generally known as clairvoyance, clairaudience, psychometry, telepathy, etc., the distinguishing feature of which is the knowing of events other than through the ordinary senses. 2. Mentalism, consisting of the manifestation of mental influence, mind power, thought force, mental magic, etc., the distinguishing feature of which is the exerting of the influence of one mind over other minds. 3. Invocation and evocation, consisting of the calling upon supernatural beings, or the calling forth of disembodied entities, elementals, vitalized thought entities, etc., from the astral plane. These manifestations and the forces which produce them have been called occult because of the fact that they belong to the less understood phases of natural forces and phenomena. The word occult means secret or hidden from the eye or understanding, not seen or understood, mysterious, invisible, unknown, undetected, etc. To many persons, occultism is considered to be concerned with supernatural forces, things, and manifestations. This is erroneous, for there is nothing supernatural, nothing outside of or over nature of which we can ever have any knowledge. Everything in the cosmos is natural and under natural laws. The law is the only supernatural that there is or can be. But we can know it only as a being in actual existence. We can know nothing of its inner nature, for it is not a thing with attributes, qualities, or limitations as we understand these terms. Everything in the cosmos is natural, the unknown as well as the commonly known. Therefore, when we say occult, we mean merely some natural thing, force or manifestation, not commonly known or recognized by men. When a thing, force, or manifestation becomes commonly known, it ceases to be regarded as occult. Electricity was once regarded as an occult force, but today it is commonly known and employed, although its real nature is still a mystery. To the trained and advanced occultist, the so-called occult forces are just as familiar and natural as are the manifestations of force common to the knowledge of the race. The occult forces are simply finer forces of nature, which are not recognized, known, or understood by the average person of the race today. We wish this to be thoroughly understood. There are no supernatural forces, things, or manifestations. All are natural and under natural laws. Let us now proceed to a consideration of a class of occult phenomena which we have grouped under the subtitle Psychic Phenomena, and which are known as clairvoyance, clairaudience, psychometry, telepathy, etc., the distinguishing feature of which is the knowing of events through other channels than the ordinary senses. These several phases are but modifications of one general phenomena, astral sensing. The majority of modern writers upon the subject of psychic phenomena lay great stress upon the vibrations, waves, currents, etc., by which psychic impressions are transmitted from one mind to another, or by which one senses occurrences in points of space far removed from him. We have no objection to these terms, for they represent the best available words to describe the actual details of the manifestation, but these words must be used understandingly. The idea is so commonly advanced that these vibrations or waves or currents are but forms of etheric vibrations, similar in nature to the waves of light, heat, electricity, material magnetism, etc., is erroneous and gives a materialistic tinge to phenomena which are of a much higher plane than that of material forces and substance. While there is a general resemblance between all planes of the manifest cosmos, owing to the law of analogy which causes correspondence in all planes, as above, so below, and from one know all, still the vibrations, waves, and currents concerned in psychic phenomena and mentalism belong to an entirely different plane from that of those concerned in the manifestation of light, heat, electricity, etc., which belong to the lower plane. In the preceding lesson, we have shown you that there are three principal manifesting and active in the cosmos: substance, motion, and consciousness. In each of these three principles, there are manifested correspondents which we may call vibrations, waves, currents, etc. On the plane of substance, we have vibrations and waves of matter, which result in the various forms, shapes, and action of material objects. This is caused by the principle of motion acting upon the principle of substance. Much that we call energy or force is but the appearance of fine degrees of substance energized by motion. Electricity, for instance, is but a fine form of substance so energized. The ether itself is but a fine form of substance, almost approaching pure energy, but not passing over the line which divides energy from substance. There are also vibrations and waves of pure motion which may be considered mentally as independent of substance, although we can never know them as such. There is a plane of pure motion which is unthinkable except to minds which have been trained to grasp the subject, and likewise there are vibration, waves, and currents in the principle of consciousness, produced by the action of motion upon that principle. And it is to this plane that the vibrations, waves, and currents concerned with psychic phenomena properly belong. They are not waves in the ether, for the ether is on the material plane. They are waves in the mind principle itself, which is quite another thing. Without attempting to lead you into extended discussion of the scientific details of the matter, we would call your attention to this one fact which should serve to give you a plain mental picture of the phenomena, a gentle outline of a picture into which you can fill the details as you proceed in the study and experimental work along these lines. This general statement is as follows. The cosmos is known to be practically a great world brain, in which thoughts come and become things, taking on substantial form. With a cosmos, mental in nature, consisting in fact of but one universal mind, in which all particular things are but centers of consciousness, can you not see that there must be a circulation of consciousness or occurrence of thought, just as there is a circulation of water in and by the current of the ocean, or as there is a circulation of air by reason of the currents therein, or as there is a circulation of electricity, light, and other forms of what we call energy? Consciousness is a principle, just as is substance or motion, and what is true of one principle is true of the other two, according to the law of analogy. Therefore, there are vibrations, waves, and currents of consciousness, just as truly as there are corresponding manifestations on the material plane, and you may use these terms very properly, always avoiding the mistake of confusing them with the material correspondence. In clairvoyance, clairaudience, psychometry, and telepathy, we have several forms of manifestation of the existence of these mental waves and currents, for so we shall call them to avoid the necessity of longer term. But how does the mind of a person receive and register the impressions received through these mental currents? It is known to be a fact that no mind can receive impressions without the agency and medium of some form of material organ, though the material organ may be extremely subtle and fine. And this rule holds true in the case of the phenomena we are now considering, and such organs do exist and are called the organs of astral sense. In the lessons treating of the astral plane, you have been informed of the existence of the astral body, the subtle counterpart of the physical body. The astral body is endowed with counterparts of the physical senses, which it may use in sensing the objects and impressions of the astral plane. In this way, astral sensing becomes possible. The average person has not used these astral senses sufficiently well to develop them for active use, but this development is possible to those who have sufficient interest and patience to undertake the task. But here and there are found persons whose astral senses manifest their existence in a degree not known to the average person. These persons become very sensitive to the impressions of the astral plane, and although as a rule they are untrained and do not comprehend the nature of the phenomena, still they afford conclusive proof of the existence of the faculties in question. We shall not attempt to prove the existence of psychic phenomena in these lessons. We have not the space at our disposal, nor is it within the scope of this particular work. Evidence of such nature as to convince any unprejudiced person may be found in many books on the subject, notably the reports of the English Society for Psychic Research. Moreover, many persons have experienced these facts in their own life. Let us consider the phenomena generally called clairvoyance, which is defined as a faculty or power by which the clairvoyant is able to see mentally things concealed from sight, to see and describe things happening at a distance. With the exception of cases in which the person actually travels on his astral body to distant scenes, and there witnesses with his astral senses the events actually occurring there, all clairvoyant results from one general cause, and in the same general way. Let us suppose an event occurring at a distant place. In the manifestation of that event, there occurs a constant, regular, and continuous series of conscious states on the part of all things concerned therein. Not only in the part of all living things is there consciousness manifested, but there is a consciousness manifested by all inanimate things present upon the scene, things inorganic as well as organic in the usual use of the term. As we have said on page 60 in Lesson 4, those who have studied along occult lines have become aware of the existence of mind and consciousness in so-called inanimate objects, the minerals, metals, etc., and even in the atoms, and finally in the ether. Everything in the manifest cosmos has some degree of consciousness. This being so, it follows that such consciousness must follow a natural law and transmit waves or currents, waves and currents of consciousness, which travel and circulate on the astral plane, where they may be sensed by those astral organs attuned to receive them. Just as the macro-engrams may be received only by instruments keyed to the proper degree of receptivity, so may these currents be received only by those who are in tune with them. One whose astral senses are sufficiently sensitive and attuned may receive and register these currents, just as the physical eye registers the light waves of the ether, or the ear the sound waves of the air. This is not necessarily a projection of the astral sense to the scene of the happening. The astral senses may register the impression received from the currents of consciousness. To those who may doubt the reasonableness of sensing things and events over thousands of miles, we would say that it is simply an astral correspondence of the physical phenomena of sight, whereby impressions are received from the distant stars over billions of miles, over distances so vast that it requires centuries for the light waves to travel. And remember this, the physical eye never actually sees the outer objects themselves, but merely sees the effects produced upon the nerves by the waves of light. Nor does a person fail to see the outside object, but he also fails to see even the light waves themselves. He merely sees certain vibrations of nerve substance set up in the brain by the action of the light vibration. And this in every sense no less wonderful than the phenomena of astral sensing which we have just described, merely a little more common and familiar, that is all. If we had as full and common a development of the astral senses as we have of the physical, we would consider it no more remarkable to see events occurring in India than to witness the changes on the planet Mars. One is as natural as the other. Clairaudience is but another phase of astral sensing, by which the astral sense receives the impression of sounds instead of sights. The principle involved is the same. So far we have spoken only of clairvoyance in its phase of sensing distant objects. There are other phases to the consideration of which we shall now pass. But before leaving this phase, we wish to put ourselves squarely on record regarding the nature of the majority of cases of genuine clairvoyance. In spite of the opinions of many able authorities, we believe that the manifestation of the above form of distant clairvoyance is very rare and uncommon. We believe that but few persons ever experience it, even spontaneously. We believe that the majority of recorded cases of distant clairvoyance are instances either of telepathy of a high order or else of actual astral projection, which we believe to be far more common than is usually believed. We believe that a great number of cases of clairvoyance are due to the unconscious projection of the astral body to the distant scene, if even but for a moment, for time is practically annihilated in astral projection. Clairvoyance of past events is explained by the Arcane teaching as resulting from the fact that in the cosmic brain events leave their records and impressions, just as the events of the experience of a man leaves records and impressions in his brain. These recorded impressions constitute subconscious memory, in the case of both the man's brain and the cosmic brain. From one know all, as below so above. On the astral plane, there are preserved the records of the cosmos, the cosmic subconscious memory, in fact. Every thing, action, thought, deed, or activity of any kind, degree, or description that has been manifested since the dawn of the cosmic day is there recorded in the great unforgetting subconscious memory of the cosmos. All occultists know this and have called this subconscious memory record by different names. Some minds, particularly attuned, occasionally enter into conscious relationship with this cosmic subconscious memory and are able to record, generally more or less imperfectly, what they sense there. This may be done either through psychic sensing of mental currents arising from those states of subconscious memory, or else by actual contact with them in the astral body. But the phenomena is far less common than is generally supposed, and many cases are explainable upon the hypothesis of telepathy. That is, the impressions are thought impressions, either emanating from the mind of some person now living in the physical, or else some persistent thought currents which have maintained their coherent properties over long periods of time. Clairvoyance of the future is a misnomer. It implies actual existence somewhere of a foreknowledge or foresight of the future which does not exist. If such existed, then fate or predestination would be true. The cosmic mind does not know before the manifestation, for the knowing causes the manifestation. But the phenomena which is known by the name of clairvoyance of the future does exist, although the theories concerning it are erroneous. It is true that occasionally individuals seem able to foretell with more or less accuracy the events which afterward come true at least partially, The secret consists in the fact that the laws of orderly trend and sequence being operative, there must always be in existence the shadows cast by the approaching event that is active causes operating in the direction of bringing about certain effects. Among these active causes, desire and mental pictures in the minds of living human beings play an important part. The clairvoyant perceiving the evidence of these active causes in the astral is often able to make very good guesses or intuitive conjectures of the events which will follow, just as one may predict something that will happen tomorrow from something that is happening today. But there is no certainty about the prediction in either case, for there may be, and generally are, other causes which will play their part at the time of action, and thus defeat the entire prediction. Clairvoyance of the future perceives probable effects of existent causes, but no more. The future is not in existence in the mind of any being, not even in the mind of the cosmos. Make no mistake about this, even astrology can indicate only probabilities of the future. Psychometry, or the receiving of impressions from inanimate objects, by which one enters into rapport or psychic connection with the previous environment of the object, thus learning its previous history, particulars of its environment, etc., is explained by the fact that in the object's consciousness, for all objects possess a degree of consciousness, there is preserved a memory of its past environment, history, etc., which may be read by the mind attuned to the impression. Not only this, but the object is still astrally connected by psychic filaments with its previous environment, and the clairvoyant may thus enter into rapport with the latter and its stored-up memories. The object gives the clairvoyant the loose end of the psychic ball of memory and association, which he then unwinds. End of lesson.